Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Innovation Showcase. The main purpose of this ongoing series is to inform viewers about exciting innovations and creative individuals across the fields of business, science, technology, education, and the arts. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guests Ron Gong, Jerry Gong, Noah Pytel, Shira Listokin, and Bea Almeida. They're all associated with Lazer Robotics, a Newton-based high school team competing in the FIRST Robotics Competition, an international program where students design, build, and program sophisticated robots to take on complex, fast-paced challenges. Ron is the coach of the team, and Jerry, Noah, Shira, and Bea are four of the team members. Recently, Lazer Robotics captured a state championship, showcasing their creativity, teamwork, and technical excellence at the highest level. During the program, we're finding out all about the team's involvement with the FIRST Robotics Competition and their noteworthy efforts that led to winning the 2026 Massachusetts First Tech Challenge State Championship. In the process, we'll come to better understand and appreciate that innovation doesn't just happen in labs or boardrooms. It starts with curiosity, collaboration, and the desire to take on big challenges. Let's start by meeting our guest and then finding out all about Lazer Robotics. Welcome. So delighted you're all able to be here. And let me start by just saying congratulations on this incredible achievement. Very noteworthy. Eager to find out much more about it and have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I think it would also be of interest to briefly hear just a little bit about all your backgrounds, what attracted you to the FIRST programs, and how you've been involved over the years. Ron, welcome. Would you please start just a little bit of your background, perhaps professional interests?
Yeah, sure. First, thank you, Jay, for having us in the program. We are very grateful for this opportunity. The in terms of my background, I studied engineering in college, but I do financial engineering for financial institutions. So we don't make real things like robot at work, but we use a lot of engineering and then mathematical models in my daily job.
For those watching who maybe aren't familiar with the FIRST programs, could you just briefly give us an overview of what they are, what's involved, and what attracted you to become involved with them?
Yeah, sure. So, first is probably the largest youth robotics community in the world. The it has sort of multiple program for a student at different age. Jerry and I, and then some of the team members, been with First for more than 10 years. We started with something called Junior FL, and then we spent like 2 years of Junior FL, and then we spent 5 years in so the regular FL stands for First Lego League. And then the last 3 years, we have been doing First Tech Challenge. So these are all different programs associated with the First organization. It has been wonderful for us, kids enjoying it. I'm so happy to be part of their journey.
Terrific, terrific. Jerry, welcome. Could you please share a little bit about your background, perhaps where you attend school, your academic, non-academic interest, and what attracted you to FIRST initially?
Sure. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having us on the program. I go to Newton South High School. I am a junior. Outside of robotics, obviously, I really enjoy fencing and I do a lot of photography work. I've been part of FIRST for I think 11 years at this point, and it's been a really fun journey.
Right now, what's your role on the team and how does it contribute to the overall success?
Sure. So I'm the captain of our team, and what that means is I do a lot of design work, some software work, and then look at and do some outreach work as well. Um, I like doing mechanical work the most, but also contributing in other sort of departments is also a lot of fun and part of the experience.
Terrific, terrific. Well, we'll hear much more about your role as well as everybody else shortly. Noah, welcome. Please, a little bit about your background and interests.
Thank you, Jay. My name's Noah. I go to Newton South. I'm a junior. I play football there, and I really enjoy working on cars as well. I've been doing FIRST for 10 years. Specifically on the team, I focus on hardware, and specifically in that region, I work on manufacturing individual parts rather than whole assemblies. I do a little bit of both, but my focus is on the individual parts.
Wonderful. Thank you. Shira, welcome. Please, a little bit about yourself and your involvement with FIRST.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Shira Listokin. I'm in 12th grade at Gann Academy. And I'm super like into STEM and I also really like building things and hands-on things. So FDC is really up my alley. I first joined FIRST 3 years ago, my sophomore year. And I actually this is my first year on Lazer, but third year in FIRST. And I initially joined a school team when a friend said I should join it. It sounded kind of cool, so I thought, why not? And I never could have imagined just how much enjoyment I really got out of FIRST. So that's kind of my journey to here.
Thank you. Thank you. Bea, welcome. Please share a little bit about yourself and involvement with FIRST.
Yeah. So, I'm Bea. I go to Newton South where I'm a junior. And I really like other interests outside of robotics. I really like to play soccer. And so I've been on this team for around 4 years, where I mostly do a lot of programming and a bit of mechanical work.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Ron, just a quick word about the growth and development of the team since your initial involvement more than 10 years ago.
Absolutely. So one thing I also do want to point out, like, in today's program, you see four of our great team members, but the team actually has in total has 8 members. And then the Jerry, Shira, Noah, and Pia, they are in addition to what they're talking about, they also in the drive team. When I say drive teams, basically these are the four people that you see on the field, controlling the robot, discussing strategy with their alliance partners. We also have other four team members. They also contribute quite significantly to the entire process. Some of them focus on outreach, community events. Some the focus on the social media, fundraising. So I just want to point it out is it's the first oftentimes more than just robotics. It has the entire sort of supporting activities that give kids opportunity to do things more than robotics. And then they fully enjoy it. They are important part of our success.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So and then this is sort of naturally uh, go to your question about the growth that we see over time, right? So we started obviously with the first Lego League Junior, first Lego League. We spent many years there before we went to before we did the first tech challenge. Now, this is quite different and then in terms of the experience, right? When we think about first Lego League many years ago, it's more like a hobby, and then the season's shorter. There's just a lot less intensity. It's more like fun side project outside of school, right? And then also there's just a lot of limitations as you can do. Hey, these are only parts you can use. And then when the season to get to the end of the season, pretty much there is sort of some sort of optimal solution that everybody knows, thinks that that's the right way to do it. Now, moving forward to first tech challenge, it's quite different. It becomes like a lifestyle. There's really no because there's really no like season off season or because the season is long to begin with, and then if you're into it, you just keep doing, like, hey, we have side projects, or we have summer project that we use a skill that we learned from the first tech challenge, and then use that to we actually have some wonderful summer project. We use skill we learned to help those people with the special needs, and then those are type of things make this sort of journey so special. And then as I said, it become a lifestyle that they enjoy it on daily basis. places, and then that's a very, very sort of natural migration. Hey, they got attracted into the STEM field. They found this, hey, this is so interesting. And then over time they found, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. And then a lot of them probably gonna do this in college. And then that's something that's wonderful to see.
Thank you for that background and growth and development over the years. As we're going to see shortly, a short clip of the finals and the state competition, it seems to get quite intense. Noah, how does the team stay connected and coordinated during those times?
So, I mean, to start, most of us play sports, so it's sort of the same mentality. When you think robotics, you kind of think, oh, you build something and just goes does it. But the first 30 seconds are autonomous of our competition, but the rest is actually driver controlled. So there's plenty of strategy and actual like doing that has you have to perform. So because we all play sports, we all like, kind of have that like lock-in mentality where you acknowledge the risk, but you can't dwell on it. You have to ignore the crowd and just like focus on what you need to do. Also, we work together every day for like years, so we're very good at communicating and making sure we're all on the same page. I mean, we don't get into arguments much because we sort of have respectful conversations when we have different ideas of what we want to do. We hear everybody out and we make sure everybody's on the same page, and that allows us to have the best outcome.
I mean, what incredible life skills you already have and you're continuing to build and hone well beyond the robotics involvement. That's fabulous. Bea, what was going through your mind during the final match when you might have realized, gee, we might win the state championship?
Yeah, well, I was definitely feeling very excited because the the whole competition was just so intense, like so much stuff was going on. I was just feeling so nervous the whole competition. And then like that final match at the end when I knew like everything was going well, I felt really excited because we we were winning the competition would allow us to advance to the World Championships, which was something that we've never done before. So we were just feeling like I was very feeling like very excited and very happy that all of like the hard work I put into the robot paid off and let us win the whole competition.
Definitely.
Jay, just put that in perspective, right? There are about 140 FTC teams in the state of Massachusetts, right?
Wow.
So, and then kids spend a lot of time. You oftentimes see people like the kids like sleeping, almost sleeping with robot, especially like the couple of weeks leading to the state championship, all-nighters, the fixed optimizing, fixing problems. That's very common.
Again, just incredible life skills of what it takes to achieve something incredibly noteworthy like this. Shira, not only did you win the state championship, you went undefeated. What do you think made that possible? I think we might have get a little hint from earlier comments, but please add to that.
Definitely, yeah. One thing we really focus on at Lazer is we really think a lot about risk management. So we like to kind of joke that we built a tank. And what that means is we built something that is really robust and doesn't break very frequently. And so in the designing process, we think a lot about what materials we're using, and we try to use materials that won't break very frequently. Or we try to think about how can we build mechanisms that can withstand a lot of whacking, and really intense match play. If we see the finals match in a second, you can kind of see just how much contact there is in the game. So we really try to think about that from day one. We also think about risk management when we're planning our season. So one thing that I think Bea might mention later on is how we decide to actually build a completely new robot mid-season.
Wow.
Yeah, and the reason we did that instead of just taking apart our old one and redesigning was because we wanted to ensure that the new robot that we built, there wasn't any risk to doing that, and that no matter what, we wouldn't get worse. So that's definitely risk management is something we think about both in the design that we choose, but also in the way that we plan our season.
Noah, related to risk management, given all the planning you do, nevertheless, things can go wrong. When were there moments when things didn't go as planned, and how did you and the team respond to that?
Yeah, so 100%. I mean, we plan a lot for it, but something's always going to go wrong. An example of this was during competition, we were coming off a not great match, and we really just needed to put up a good score. And our robot wouldn't turn on, and so we had to like scramble to sort of figure it out. So we were able to get it to turn on and run our match, and we were able to win, I believe. And that was just because of our like calm and communicative like problem solving that we had developed over the years. Another issue we run into, one of the really unique things about First is that you get matched with random alliance partners during the whole qualification match. So you have to figure out how to work with people who may be a little bit less experienced, not as strong of the team. And so when you, it's sort of just luck who you get matched with. So if you're against a very strong partner, you have to be able to manage working with someone who might not be as strong. So it's the communication skills really brings it. That's what we do when it goes wrong.
Mm-hmm. Jerry, building on Noah's comments about alliance partners, yours was Ghost Robotics. Can you share a little bit more of what it was like collaborating, working with them, please?
Sure. So Ghost Robotics is another FTC team based out of Westford, I believe. So they are quite far away, but regardless, I mean, working with them at States was really, really fun. But another big part of FTC is sort of the whole networking aspect. Since there's only so many teams in the state, you tend to, after competing for a couple of seasons, know a lot of them very well.
Huh.
And then especially since, we were coming after our first competition, we were looking really strong. We wanted to practice with a lot of teams that could also like we could have the potential to alliance with at competitions. So what happens even between each competition is teams will attend scrimmages. So we went to maybe 3 or 4 scrimmages with Ghost, and then that would allow us to practice our strategies together outside of a competition field where like mistakes are a lot more forgiven, and you can really just try whatever you want to see what you can get a really high score with. So after our second qualifier, which was in January or February, I believe, um, we practiced a lot with Ghost going to various scrimmages. And then eventually we got to know the team really well. So we knew our robots worked super well together, very compatible. And then beyond just the robots, I mean, the two teams, we interact very well with each other. They're easy to work with, so we were able
Mhm.
to communicate any ideas super effectively. Um, and then overall, that played into our hands really nicely at state championship, where they finished at the number 1 seed, which meant that
Ah,
they could pick their alliance partner. So they picked us. And then from there, like there wasn't even that much strategy discussion. We sort of already knew what we were going to do going in. So it made the whole process really, really fun. And then getting to work with them, who we've been working with the entire season, was a great end to the state championship.
Yeah, and then Jay,
and
if I can jump in here, and then this is,
please.
I believe, is something that the first does really well. In just the co-optation sort of concept, and then co-optation is actually very real, in especially first tech challenge. And then we before we start doing first tech challenge, we also look at other different type of robotics league, but we love FTC because we know this community is a little bit different than other robotics communities. The competition is great, but there's also a lot of cooperation. And then I know we talked about Ghost Robotics. We also have really great relationship with many other the FTC team in Massachusetts or even outside of Massachusetts. We exchange ideas. We help each other become a better team.
Wonderful. Again, just a fabulous example of learning things well beyond the robotics that are so important moving forward in life and future careers. Shira, can you share just a little bit, maybe what you learned from the collaboration with Ghost Robotics, please?
Definitely, yeah. So, as Ron and Jerry were basically saying, First really pushes the idea of like free information sharing. So, one example I can think of from like a team other than Ghost is a team from Andover called Arc Lightning. We actually learned a lot about how they reduce the spin on the ball. And they had like a certain interesting idea where they compress the ball a lot more than when they fired it. So we ended up trying that, and it worked really well. And so we actually ran that for the state championship. So that's one example I can think of from Andover. An example from Ghost could be also that we had a couple of wedges on the robot, and we noticed that the wedges that Ghost used were actually really wide, and so we decided to try that as well. So these are just some specific examples, but there's so many different times where we use ideas from other teams, and I think this just really is an attribute of FIRST in general. You really won't see very many teams that are super secretive of their designs. Everyone's really trying to make sure that the level of play is really high in the competition.
Wonderful, wonderful. In addition to winning the state championship, Lazer Robotics also won some other team and individual recognition and honors. Noah, you won the Design Award, which is a huge honor. What part of your robot are you most proud of? And maybe as you respond to that, Jerry will bring up an image that he'll be sharing and talking to as well. Noah, a little bit about your thoughts about your award-winning design.
Yeah, so I mean, I think one of the things that really sets us apart is the efficiency of our design. And the word efficiency is what I use to describe it, just to overall encompass that we try and make it as like effective without while simple as well. So simplicity without sacrificing effectiveness. So we really don't have any parts on the robot that aren't completely necessary, because the more complicated systems are, the more things on the robot, the more things there are to break. So like going back to what Shira said earlier about robustness of the robot, if it's super robust, we're not going to have as many issues, which helps us not only not have to encounter those issues, but if we were in a position where somebody wanted to pick us, it's also strategic because they see our robot and they're like, they're not going to break, they're going to be consistent all the time. So it just kind of sort of raises your level as a team to have a super consistent, robust, and effective robot. So I think overall that's what sets us apart.
Mhm. Bea, what's one design challenge that took multiple iterations to get right?
Yeah, so I would say definitely our intake. So the part of the robot that actually gets the game elements inside the robot. So at like Shira was saying, at the start of the season, we had like one specific design for a robot. But after our first two competitions, we realized that it had a lot of trouble being able to get balls in really efficiently. So then we had to completely rebuild and make a completely different robot.
Mhm.
Just like redoing the intake part of the robot so that we could be able to get the game elements more efficiently and more quickly into the robot. So, and then within that also took a bunch of iterations, just messing around with the different designs that like the different types of like tubing and wheels to make sure the balls like just once it touches the intake, it just goes straight to the robot.
Mhm.
So that definitely took a lot of time and lots of tries.
For
Yeah,
sure.
and then Bia, I think this Bia also speak about one thing that's really great about FTC is there's not much limitation, right? When you talk about intakes, like hey, what type of shape, what type of material. So there's just a lot of different things you can try, and then this has been wonderful for them. The it's more than just hey, physics. Or and sort of the physics or math. There's a material science involved. You can try different way to print things. They even use silicon to mold their own sort of mold it into the shape that they want that you can't really buy from any commercial supplier. So they're just a there's no limit in terms of what the imagination in terms of what they can do. So this and then this allowed them to do multiple iterations. Like Bia pointed out, intake in other parts of robot, we went through very similar processes. It just there's no like end state. If you have time, if you want to do it, you can always try different things and then make it better.
Terrific, which is what we hear from successful inventors all the time.
Mhm.
Some people take so long just to get started because they think it has to be perfect.
Mhm.
But people, if you just jump right in and then engage with the iterative process, in the end, you'll get to your desired end product, most definitely. We've looked at a little of the design. Bea, you mentioned balls and things. Well, we're fortunate to have a short clip of the finals to show the robot together with others in action. Jerry, before we segue to that, can you just give us an overview of what we're going to see, what the goal is, please?
Sure. So what you're going to see is a clip of our state finals match. So this is the match that ultimately won us the state championship, and we are the robot in the bottom right corner, shooting into the red goal. The first 30 seconds of the match is completely autonomous, so meaning we cannot touch the controllers, and um, the robot is running purely on pre-programmed instructions. For the rest 2 minutes of the match, we can control it using just standard controllers, and there you'll see much more contact robot to robot action between them.
Okay,
So, and then there's going to be two robots shooting into the red goal. The other one is our alliance partner of Ghost Robotics.
great. So we'll watch it now. Feel free to add any commentary.
Welcome to the final Massachusetts Championship, folks. We have 5 artifacts up in that red side, 3 on the blue. We're going to have another 5 on red and another 5 on blue. It is a high-scoring autonomous period. I'm going to see what happens here. 23 to 86. That's Lazer Robotics. And puts another one up, and another goes up and put up by 21.865. They collect a whole other 3, line up in that launching zone, put them all up. It is almost up.
And we're going to skip ahead. We mentioned intense, can definitely get the feel of that watching the four together. And as we come towards the end, well worth hearing the conclusion now.
Number 1.
Fabulous, fabulous. Got a little sense of that, but being in there in person, the emotions are nfold beyond watching the tape, but well worth having here. And I think I'll just mention in the closing credits, we'll have a link to your YouTube page so viewers can follow up and see other competitions and documentation that you did. And I believe you set a state record as well, in addition to winning, which is another just
Yeah,
feather.
it's a state record, and then I believe also is New England record. And then I think that last match ranked number 7 in the entire United States. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Um, Jerry, one thing I was been impressed with as many features of First Tech Challenge is the emphasis they place on engineering documentation. Can you share just a little bit about how you capture and present the whole design process? Very impressive.
Sure. So documentation in FTC especially is treated as almost an extension of the engineering process. So what that means is everything we build, whether it gets used or not, does end up getting documented somewhere. Oftentimes that means it's like a picture or a video on somebody's phone. I think on my phone, half of my image storage is taken up by robot videos. Um, and then what you eventually do at every competition is you compile basically the entire work you've done throughout the season into a 15-page portfolio. And then obviously 15 pages is quite little to describe maybe 3, 4, 5 months of constant iterating and design. So choosing what goes into that is big. But what we focus a lot on is talking about certain things that worked really well for us, why we chose to do them, why we made the decisions we did, and also things that didn't go so well. So things like that we thought would go well did not end up going well. So a big example of that was between our first competition this season and our second. We mentioned a lot about the intake already, but we've in those maybe one or 2 months, we probably spent most of our time working on maybe 20 different intake iterations, none of
Wow.
which ended up being used on the final robot. Um, and that's all documented. That all has to get documented somewhere. So there's observations about each, why they didn't work, what was good about them. And so that data gets used, one, to present to people, but also for our own use so that we know what to do in the future, what we can do on a future iteration to make it even better than it already was.
Why is telling the story about your robot just as important, it sounds like, as building it?
Yeah, so no robot at the beginning of the season starts perfect. That's just not really a thing. Um, Everybody starts with a robot, and if you're lucky, it kind of works. Um, Oftentimes it doesn't the first try. So that story is really important. One, so that like you can see the growth throughout the season, and two, also when you eventually go to competitions, you earn awards, and a big part of these awards, especially the robot focused ones, centers a lot around being able to show the story of, hey, we didn't just get here off of pure luck. We actually tested all of these different ideas, put in a lot of work and effort into finding what we think is the most optimal solution.
Hmm. Great, thank you. Shira, Jerry, as your captain, was recognized for his leadership. Just one or two thoughts of what makes him an effective leader.
Definitely, yeah. So as Ron was mentioning before, there's so many different roles on an FTC team. So we have 8 people, and we have people that work in fundraising, outreach, media, hardware, software, and within
Wow.
each of those teams, there are a bunch of people who are working on different things as well. So, for example, in our software team, we have 4 different people that all kind of specialize in like different parts of it. In many ways, Lazer is kind of like a small company with just how many different things are going on at once. And I think Jerry is really good at making sure that all of these separate parts work together really nicely as a team, which is just an incredibly important part of FIRST. So, one example I can give of this is that Jerry worked really closely with our vision programmer, Javi, who like programs the camera to make sure that all of this code was really well integrated into the rest of the robot. And I think that's really an effective, attribute of a leader, and it really makes him a great captain.
Jerry, I think we know from the real world research that leadership isn't just in one person, but shows up across the whole team, organization. Can you share a little bit about how that extends beyond maybe the model that you set?
Sure. So first of all, thank you, Shira. Um, But just within the team itself, I mean, Shira mentioned that we have these sort of sub teams. And one thing that's been really amazing to see throughout our past couple of seasons is how much each person on each sub team has been able to grow. So, for example, Bea writes, I think, the vast majority of our autos, and that's paid off. Obviously, this season our autos have been amazing. They've hit almost every single time. So, um, I mean, I think it's just every person has managed to grow so much in the past couple of years. They've been able to sort of take charge of their own work. So that means less work for I think everybody. So if we're all stuck on one problem, we're not going to really move anywhere. But when everybody sort of gets the skills to be able to debunk their own problems, not have to involve like all of our time and money into fixing one thing at a time, the team is able to operate much more efficiently, which is why I think we were able to get so much more done this season. Um, and it's just overall been a really, really smooth experience with the uh, sort of, I guess, iteration and process of getting the robot to life.
Yeah, and then and I'll add here when Jerry say gets so much more done. And I think we talk a lot about the robot. We have a great robot. We were in state championship, but outside of that, I mean, we have teams to focus on fundraising. We actually able to raise more than $10,000, and then
Mm.
that basically covers the majority of our operation for the season. We participate in many community events. I think another sort of the household name in Newton is Liger Bots. We oftentimes partner with them. We just overall we increase our impact in our local community.
I think we'll have time to hear a little bit more of that because it's quite impressive. Building on what Jerry said about things learned, Ron, what's something you learned this year that maybe you didn't expect?
Yeah, so I think I spent so much time with all these wonderful kids. I remember Shira at one point told me that there was like the last couple of months he's probably spent more time in my house than her own house. But I think I know every kid really well. There's really nothing sort of completely surprised me, but what I'm most proud of is really the sort of individual growth throughout this journey with the first, right? So Bia is a perfect example. Like the Bia with the first for 4 years, that she grew enormous amount of confidence through this program. I still remember the first time she joined us. Obviously, a little bit shy, didn't know much about robotics yet. Now today, she can comfortably talk about robot with anyone, and indeed does a wonderful job on that, right? We also have team members who are not as part of the call, but over time, they find their roles in the team. They thought that, hey, I'm not good at engineering. Robotics is not my thing. But then throughout the process, they realized that there are many different ways to contribute. You actually don't have to be the best programmer to be able to contribute to the team, right? You can be a great communication, great coordinator. And then these are all things that you can help team. And then, as some team member pointed out earlier, this is like a small company. And then they realize that, hey, in order to make your company successful, you actually need people with a different background, very diversified thoughts. And then that's something that I'm very proud of that I don't think I expected when I picked this up 10 years ago.
Thank you. Uh, building on Ron's comments, how do you see the skills you've gained applying to your future?
Yeah, definitely. So, during the season, sometimes we go to visit companies and like engineering companies, and it's always so cool to see how many of the things and parts that we're using in our competition is actually used in the real world. Like all of the skills we're learning, like iteration, just like engineering design, it's all like used in actual companies. So that's definitely something that we're gonna use in the future. And then also just like learning how to fail and not give up. So just like anything that will go wrong, that can go wrong, will go wrong. And it's just like learning how to use that info and like get your robot to fail and just to not give up when it fails, but to just like keep working on it, keep trying to improve it, and just like to learn from the mistakes.
Mhm. Thank you. Jerry, building on just that last comment by Bea, how has robotics changed the way you think about failure or setbacks?
Sure. So I think robotics has completely changed the way I think about failure. I mean, before I got involved, and I think the common definition of failure is it's something you want to avoid and something that sort of reflects your ability, as in like, oh, this is not good enough. But in robotics, failure is something that happens more often than success, unfortunately. But part of the journey and skill that we've developed over the years helps us be able to take that sort of failure and not really treat it as failure, treat it as a data point, essentially. And then that means we can learn from everything that fails. In fact, in practice, we want things to fail. So that way we learn how to fix it, how we can make it better. Obviously, if everything works perfectly, that's great too, but that's never the case. So things will eventually, they are bound to fail. And then the whole process sort of just recycles over and over again. Um, and yeah, failure is not really something that we are scared of. In fact, it's something that we need. Otherwise, we would go nowhere. So that's changed the way I think myself, and I can probably speak the same for the rest of the team as well when we say failure is a huge part of our journey as well.
Before we go forward, we do have time to hear also from Noah and Shira about what skills, Noah, do you think you've gained from all your involvement with FIRST that can apply to your future?
Well, I mean, before I started first 10 years ago, I didn't know anything about robotics at all. I mean, I was just like sketching stuff on my schoolwork. Um, so I mean, there's that learning how to do robotics and learning all the skills to manufacture parts and things like that. But then I think the most important thing that I've learned how to do is like talk to people and communicate. I can't stress that enough. Just interpersonal skills at which I completely developed through first, like whether it's giving a presentation to a group of people, which we have to do every year, and I do in school all the time. Um, or if it's just talking to people and explaining things to people and having a discussion. It's like I'll use that for the rest of my life, and I've gained those skills through first.
Wonderful, wonderful. And share your thoughts and comments of taking your involvement with from FIRST and beyond.
Definitely, yeah. I was gonna have a pretty similar response to Noah. I think, on the one hand, there's obviously a lot of technical skills that FIRST teaches you. It teaches you all different things in robotics, which I think is incredibly important. But I think more important than that is the soft skills that FIRST teaches you. I think it's really interesting if you look at like a team meeting. A lot of it is just us challenging each other and asking questions about each other's ideas. There's very few times where people just agree with each other. But I think that we really learned how to do that in a really healthy and effective way, just to make the team really stronger. And I think that that skill is something that is incredibly important, and a really great thing that FIRST teaches.
Shira, if you could give advice either to someone else or to yourself when you were younger, just starting out in robotics, what might you say?
I think I would tell myself to ask a lot of questions. Um, I remember like the first time I walked into my school's robotics lab, there were so many different parts. There's just a ton of like terminology. And I just remember feeling very daunted. And I think that if I asked more questions, I think that that could have, gone a long way. And I think asking questions did really lead to a lot of personal growth. Or I think even now, asking questions is an incredibly important part of our team's success. We see an issue with a robot and we need to ask why and we need to debug it. And I can think of so many different examples this year of, seeing a challenge and really trying to understand the root of the challenge and understand why it's happening, and then problem solving from there. And that's really kind of the whole engineering design process, which is really so important and I think has, led to our team's success.
Ron, building on those last comments so well stated by Shara, how do you, as a team coach, encourage students not to just be builders, but problem solvers, innovators?
Yeah, you probably see me smile when the team members are talking. You can tell that I'm just so proud of them, right? So I think they are so ready for whatever challenges ahead of them. So the going back to your questions about from builder to problem solver, right? So that process is quite natural. Like I think when you're at a younger age, you get a box of Lego, and the first thing you do is you look for instructions. The instruction tells you what to do, right? So that's sort of a lot of that. That's like builder mentality. And then obviously over time, when they migrate to the sort of different level of robotics competition, and then that process, it doesn't have a solution for you. You figure out. There's no correct answer. There are a million different ways to do it. And then one thing that we found very interesting, it pretty much happen every season. Like, oh, at the beginning of the season, you brainstorm, right? You come out with, let's just say 100 different ideas, and then you kill like 90 of them. Well, this is just not gonna work, right? And then later on, you actually find that there are actually some teams make one of these ideas that you didn't think is gonna go well actually turned out to be quite effective, right? So that sort of tells me that a lot of times a good idea, but also execution is a key. When you come up have some great ideas with when you test it, you find new things, you find new problems, and then you solve the problem. That is a natural process that make them a natural problem solver, because that's the way to go. There's no right answer. Everybody find out your right answer probably may not be my right answer. And then that's what I like about the project. And this is the one thing that I actually feel very proud of. Every season, our robot just look different than others. And then we make it work. And then we make it work actually quite well.
Definitely most noteworthy by winning this year's state championship, which qualifies you for the World Championship in Houston at the end of the month. Want to go around and just ask everybody what you might be looking forward to at the World Championships in Houston. Noah, please start.
I mean, going to the Worlds has been like a dream of ours for like a really, really long time. Like ever since we were in FL building with Legos, we are like, oh, we're gonna go to Worlds this year. So it's just great that we're finally going. And I'm just looking forward to like the environment and seeing all these great teams with this super high level competition and meeting all these new people.
Thank you. Bea, something you might be looking forward to.
Yeah, again, like same thing with what Noah said. I'm very looking forward to just meeting all the different teams from all across the world. It's gonna be really cool to see like all the different robots and all of the different ideas. And then also I'm looking forward to just get being able to have a robot compete at that high level, and I'm really excited to see how it performs at the world stage.
Yeah, no, I'm eager to find out what happens as well for sure. Shara, something you might be looking forward to at the end of the month.
Definitely, yeah. I think one thing that's, really interesting to understand is just the scale of the event. So the Massachusetts State Championship, which is what we're talking about, had 36 teams, and it took place during the course of a day. And the World Championship has hundreds of teams. They're coming from all over the world. And it takes place over the course of, I believe, 4 days. So the scale of the event is just completely different.
Mm.
And I'm really excited to go to something like that and go to something so global and meet so many different people. And I think it's just going to be an incredibly exciting experience.
Oh, definitely. And thank you for providing that context. Definitely lets me appreciate even more your participation. Jerry, something you might be looking forward to.
Sure. So the other three covered it really nicely. I mean, this is something we've been working toward for years. We finally get to go. Super excited to play. Another really thing that I'm excited for is you hear all these teams that have went before. You hear all sorts of traditions. So especially with the four other teams from Massachusetts that are going to Worlds. I mean, you hear all sorts of fun traditions. Like I think one of them that happens every year is there's a big hill outside of the convention center. People take empty pizza boxes and sled down it. So, I mean, just traditions like that, things that make that just aren't even don't even have to do with robotics, I guess. Just being with that large of a community with one shared interest, and then yeah, just generally the shared interest, the high level of play, and I mean, it's also traveling to Houston, which will be fun. So yeah, that's what I'm probably most excited about.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then gearing up for another year. But the other way that was very impressed, the team's involvement is something you spoke on and introduced just a little bit, Ron, and that's the community involvement. the outreach, the partnerships, industry collaboration beyond just this area. Could you start and maybe share a little bit about that type of community outreach? And then if any of the team members want to add, please do or ask them to.
Yeah, sure. So I think as we build robot, right? So your goal is okay, you build a robot as so to do as well as possible you can, right? But at the same time, it's very important for the kids to know two things, right? One is, hey, there are many kids out there, they never really had the opportunity to expose to this, right? And then a lot of times it's like that random day that you play around with the robot can inspire a new sort of the kids are probably picking up something that they want to do for the rest of their life, right?
Mhm.
So that sort of opportunity to inspire someone is wonderful, and I always encourage kids to, hey, we if we find opportunity to do so, let's do that, because that's probably a lot of how you guys get into this wonderful STEM opportunities, right? So because remember when Jerry started, I mean the what how it gets started was we actually there was a robot event in a local high school right next to our house, and at that time we still live in Ohio, and then
Mm.
it's the same idea. We we want to inspire others like the same way that how we got inspired. So that's one part of that. The other part of that, you also want to connect with the people who actually doing this for a living, who actually solving real world problems, right? So yes, great, you're doing robot competition, but what does the real world robot, like what people do use robot to solve, right? And then we found that's a very very rewarding experience. Like we and a lot of these the companies the local we can reach to them. They most of them very very super nice to us. They show us their workshop, we show their robot. They give us sort of their perspective about, hey, if I were doing this is probably how I would do it, right? So and then that experience that just prepared them really well. And then this is sort of connected what Bia said earlier. You actually see, wow, we are not just doing robot competitions. This is what we do, the skills we have, the algorithms we use. It's actually people are using that to solve real world problems. And then that sort of feedback loop is I think it's extremely valuable, and then make this whole journey so special for everyone.
Mhm. Noah, can you give an example from your experience, some aspect of the community involvement, whether it's outreach, partnerships, or industry or beyond, that you'd like to share?
Yeah, specifically, what I want to share is we do a lot of so we build the robot during the summer, and then I mean during the year, and then when we get to the summer, we often do a project with some sort of organization to help people use the skills we learned to help people. So the previous year, we worked with New England Pediatric Center. So it's basically a center for people with disabilities. So what we were able to do is we were able to create a device for them. Specifically, it was a interactive light board for their patients. It was like a social and stimulating activity for them. And it's just really great to be able to work with a real client and help them get something that they specifically tailored to their needs, exactly what they need. And so it's solving world problems. It's helping people in their lives, like making their lives better. And it's also great practice for us if we ever go into that field working with a real client. So, and we plan to continue that relationship forward. We're going to do it again this summer, I believe, making some sort of vision system for a wheelchair. But yeah, so we do that. We do projects like that every summer, and it's super rewarding.
And
Wonderful.
Jay, that's sort of one example of partnership. We actually did that with Lazer Bots, the summer enable engineering internship, and then we have done this 2 years in a row. We're going to continue to do that this year. Wonderful, wonderful experience. We got some small gift from the kids that we help. They send us artwork. the New England Pediatric Center sent us thank you note. Yeah, goes beyond what we imagined. It's wonderful.
Ligerbots being another Newton-based robotics team that's also been recognized in different ways. Bea, building on your comments about the importance you found of the real-world connection, just very briefly, a specific example maybe of a collaboration that really impressed you?
Well, yeah, just again with the project we were doing, it's just um we can use so much of the skills that we learn during competition and just like build anything with it. So like for the summer project that we did, we just like using the skills, building a robot just to build like something completely different. It's like it's not a robot, it's sort of a game. It's like a light board. So just yeah, just all the skills that we learned, being able to put that into just like building anything that we want to build.
Wonderful, wonderful. Shira, collaboration that you'd like to comment on?
Definitely, yeah. So I'll just start off by saying I don't do too much outreach. But the outreach I have done, I've gone to a couple of events. And I remember at one event, for example, the like Boston Robot Block Party, going around to different booths and just kind of learning about, people in different industries. So I remember going to one booth, and learning about these like drones that were used in like police enforcement, in this startup and how they were kind of trying to create really safe drones that could be used indoors. And I think that going to these events is really interesting because one, we get to show people what we do, but two, we also get to learn from others. And I think that's a really cool thing about FIRST.
Terrific, terrific. And as we're coming to the end of the program, Jerry, just a final thought on your impression of the community involvement.
Yeah, so I think the community aspect has been really well answered by Noah, Bea, and Shira. I think one more thing I want to highlight is just within the FTC community itself, even though we all compete as separate teams, we all want to win, there's still just a huge collaborative involvement. I mean, just like we scrimmage together, we improve together. Nobody starts the season as the best in the world, but I mean, by the end of the season, we're all close. So I think just the overall collaborative energy of the mass FTC community is, in fact, probably one of the biggest reasons why like we've continued to do this for so many years. So yeah, just that collaboration between teams. There's like unlike a lot of there's no such thing as like really rivals. I mean, obviously there's people you want to beat because they're good, but there's no such thing as like, oh, they're rivals. We don't like them. That's not really a thing at all. So it's really great community, and that's probably my favorite bit of collaboration, just within the community.
Terrific, terrific. Final comment as we're ending, Ron. How can viewers and others find out more about laser robotics, perhaps get in touch?
Yeah, I think we said that we have the email address. Like we will so we can put it at the part of the program. We also have a very active Instagram account. You will see a lot of behind the scene activities. We have a YouTube channel that where you will see some of our matches. In it. Our YouTube channel also have the video that we made from many years ago, and then it's actually quite interesting to see how much they have grown, both physically and then also robotics wise, how sophisticated they have become over the years.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, unfortunately, we have come to the end of the program. I want to thank you all again. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. It's been fascinating finding out much more about laser robotics and definitely wish you all the success, not only with the upcoming World Championships, but well beyond. Congratulations again.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
Thank
having
you
us.
very much.
Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.